Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, which features interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, without further ado, I'll hand you over to your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, episode 101. This is your host, Holly Wharton. I'm here with today's special guest, Ann Wilson, the Wealth Chef. Ann is an expert on how to improve your relationship with money, get out of debt, invest easily, and make your money work hard for you so you know with certainty that you will be able to stop working and not just survive, but live a life you really love. Welcome, Ann.
Oh, it's so great to be here. And 101 just sounds so perfect and right, and just the right kind of tone to talk about this thing called money.
Oh, good. Perfect. I'm glad you like that number. I'm ready to go. I'm really, really excited to talk to you about this because I read your book this year when it came out, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, I've worked on my money stuff from so many different angles, but I loved having such a practical, no-nonsense guide to what the heck to do with your money to make sure that it's working for you rather than just trickling out of your bank account every month.
Oh, I'm thrilled you got so much value because, writing The Wealth Chef and creating what I did is very much about trying to bring the mindset stuff, which is so important, really understanding the beliefs we have that so often block our money flows, but then having the really practical how to do it. Because certainly on my journey, I would read great books that got me all revved and motivated and showed me that there was possibility out there. But then I was, proverbially left hanging about okay, but how do I invest in the stock market? It seemed like that was for those gray old men, it was a different world that somehow I'd never been invited into or shown how to thrive in. And so with the Wealth Chef, it's very much about bringing both sides and giving these step-by-step ways to make it easy and implementable in our all very busy lives.
Yes. So tell us how you got started in this whole money thing, because you were a successful civil engineer for 21 years. How did you make that switch from civil engineer to Wealth Chef?
Oh, great question. Well, it was really this wonderful, mucky, messy journey of my own money journey. First and foremost, because what I've realized, it is so important that we first secure our own oxygen mask before we can help others. Mm-hmm. I see so many amazing entrepreneurs and big-hearted women, especially, so wanting to help others and share their gifts. But because they're depleted in this financial side of their life and there's scarcity or fear or worry about the money stuff, it really contracts and holds them back. Mm-hmm. And I, like most people, had only been taught about this world of working hard for money, of exchanging my time and energy and skills in order to get money for my base survival, and then hopefully for the things that I want to do and expand greater beyond just surviving. And there was this whole other world that I had no idea even existed, where it didn't involve this exchanging of my energy and time. But so not knowing about that world, I went on the whole sort of, get a good, study hard, get some good skills, then you can earn money and maybe you'll be safe. So that is why I went into engineering. I thought, oh, okay, that's going to be a good, solid career, and interestingly, I'd also had this paradigm that somehow men were the primary, breadwinners, the income earners. It had been the model in my own family. And so I think there was also an aspect of, well, if I did something that men do, then I'll be safe around the money stuff.
That was good logic.
And, I had no other example of any other way. So that's exactly what I did, and very much went into that working hard and hoping, very much was that hope strategy, because I had no idea. I taught, like we all are, our entire education systems teach us how to be these pawns in the working hard for money, world. Mm-hmm. And went into it with my eyes wide open, and I thought I had it all sussed, because not only was I now earning money, I could have money that I didn't even earn, and for the stuff that I thought I needed to have to be successful. And I thought that was the world. And this is the world of entering into the wonderful world of consumer debt. And again, I had no idea how this amazing thing called compounding really works. And at a deep emotional level, I had no idea that I was actually trading my future freedom in exchange for stuff and things that I thought I needed to be successful and show that I was, achieving in this world. And I managed to climb myself out of the debt hole because I realized in that place that I couldn't go on that way, that my dreams and hopes were drifting further and further away, as now I was just working for everybody else except myself. But climbing out of that hole, I still hadn't learned the world of assets, and there are these other things that could earn income for me. So I then thought, well, okay, the solution to knowing that I'll be hopefully can stop working one day and know that I'll be safe and secure in my old age and maybe do some of the things I wanted would be if I could deprive myself now, if I could control my desires and really sort of lock myself in, and then maybe I could keep some of that money and then that would be okay. But I also still had no idea, firstly, how much was enough. Yeah. And so that unknown future place also just caused huge anxiety. And when I thought about how much I thought I might need if I was ever to be able to stop working, that number just felt so completely overwhelming. And when I thought of like, oh my God, do I have to earn all that money, not only earn it, but also save that money and somehow keep it safe? It felt like I could never, ever, ever do that. And, for so many people, again, because we are taught to think in a linear exchange time and for money, we don't understand, again, this thing called compounding, how there's actually these assets which create money for us, and that money can create money. And one of the key things I learned, and I really, really try and get people to understand this, but it's quite a difficult concept for us to really understand, that your financial freedom pot, the value of those assets that will earn income for you, and that amount that you need to know, okay, I'm now, the money will just keep flowing indefinitely forever, all the money I need to live my desired lifestyle. 90% of that pot isn't going to be created by you. We are not meant to earn that money. We are purely meant to plant the seed. And that is such a huge shift. And when I started just grasping this concept and going, oh my God, there's this whole other world. Let me see if I can go and learn about that. And, the real point for me came when, through money stress and worrying and this contraction and everything in my life about what I couldn't do and what we mustn't do, my marriage ended up blowing up in a big messy money drama, in a large part due to the sort of the money stress and strain. And the money that I'd held on to so tightly till that point walked out the door with the marriage, and I was alone in Hong Kong in my early 30s, a divorcee, and I went, oh my God, I might be an overachiever, but this is spectacular. Broke divorcee in a foreign country in my 30s, and then that's when I realized if I wanted a different outcome, I needed to do something different, that I couldn't just keep going the same way, because it certainly wasn't heading where I wanted to be. And but I also knew that just having a big pile of money was not my goal either, that it was an enabler. And this is really where the concept of money is just an ingredient, but a really important ingredient, because without it, it's very hard for me to then create, to then expand. It needs this input, this energy flowing in, and this energy of money. We live in this material world. But that, instead of being a slave to it, which I was being in this working hard, how to learn how to master it so I could give it great direction, so I could then direct it to the things that were important to me, firstly for my own financial well-being, but then allow me to expand and contribute more and do all those other things. So it was this paradigm shift of, okay, this is something I need to master and not be afraid of. And then I also realized that nobody pops out of the womb a financial genius.
No, of course not.
Yet, somehow with this thing called money, because it's pervasive, it's around us in a way, in all aspects of life, from tiny children, we see the money exchange, that it's easy for us to presume we understand it and we know what to do with it.
And unfortunately, it's something that we're not taught in school. Our parents often
Not.
don't teach us. It's like, where do you learn it? You either kind of read a book or find out about it by accident, or I mean, It's just such an important thing. And as you say, it's everywhere, but yet we know so little about it.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, there's a parallel with sex, and there's maybe the odd magazine article with a blinging headline, but the real intricacies of it. But in a way, sex has come out of the closet a lot more than poor old money has. So it's about time we got money out the closet and made it, not a taboo subject for us to confidently speak about it. One of the programs that I run is called JFDI, Just Friggin' Destroy It. It's about breaking free from consumer debt, which is really this parasite to our wealth, but to our dreams and everything else. And one of the key things in that, which we find is so powerful, is to be in a community where people can just go, you know what? I got myself into consumer debt. No shame, no blame, no guilt. And there's so much of this hangs around with money. On social media, it's all success. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, can also feel huge stress when they are starting their business, getting going, where on one level need to sort of, I'm going to use the word sort of fake it till you make it side. But having to sort of pretend that everything's just so hunky-dory in the money side, where there's still can be real anxiety, worry, cash flow. And that very anxiety can be the very thing that stops us looking into this world, shining a bright light in and going, okay, let's see what's going on here with confidence and not needing to pretend we're all masters at this thing. Yeah. I'm still learning each and every day, and that's what I love about this journey. There's so many more things to learn about different asset groups, how to get them working, but that first step into this other world is so important, to just firstly believe that there is this other way. There is this other way where you can earn income without this time-energy exchange, and that it is something that is absolutely learnable, no matter who we are, no matter where we're from. It's got nothing to do with about being great at maths or being an accountant. In fact, I have many, many financial advisors, accountants, the rest who are absolutely broke. They don't understand money. So, that was really a start. And so, long answer to your question. And so it was my own journey. It took me 8 years from that, starting from really questioning where I was going and choosing a different path, to creating my own financial freedom, which is the point where you have enough assets that earn income for you to meet your chosen lifestyle without you having to work.
So that took you 8 years.
Absolutely, that ultimate freedom of choice. 8 years. And in that time, people started asking me, and I just couldn't help myself getting involved in other people's money stuff. How are you managing your money? Are you investing? What are you doing with this or that? And I was still all that time working as a salaried employee and full-time. So it was really something that can be done with, it isn't this full-time job. That's what's amazing. The assets actually prefer you not to fiddle with them. Leave them be. And so slowly, first even with my own teams, I just started running some workshops, writing. And then I thought, well, this is actually what I'm completely passionate about, of helping others, and specifically women, enter into this world, realize that they can do this safely and in a supportive way, that this world of wealth and abundance isn't for other people, that investing isn't a male domain. In fact, women are much better investors than men when they dive in. Yeah, because they don't get their testosterone all involved. And it's really interesting. Women are far better generally at being able to follow a strategy, putting in place, and get on with the other stuff that is really important to them. Whereas men, interestingly enough, tend to get more emotional and reactive. So women, it's just such a great world for women, because it's something we can put in place. And I use the analogies of the Wealth Chef because it is just like a series of recipes. Follow them, put them in place, put the good old stew in the oven and let it do its work and get on with the other stuff that you really want to do.
Mm.
So that's how it's created. And now I just feel unbelievably blessed that I get to travel the world, speak to thousands of people through the book, through my programs, and really see the difference that this makes in freeing people up to live the greatest version of their lives.
Oh, I love that. So, Anne, what are your top tips on how to make your money work hard for you? How do people make that shift? How do people get started?
I discovered that there are 5 core recipes. And the very first starting point, as unsexy as it might sound, is knowing what the hell your money is currently doing. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people, oh, Anne, are you talking about budgets? No, it's much, much deeper than that. It's about, great, where is my money coming from? And understanding there are different sources of income, and they're not all created equal. Some are better quality than others. But acknowledging them, seeing what you're actually doing with it, give leadership, seeing where it's going. Because you can then start seeing how this energy of money is flowing through your life and what you're creating with it. And so there are tools you need to put in place. And when you it's like having an amazing set of employees in your life and in your business. But if you're ignoring them, if you're not giving them instructions, if you're not telling them what you're trying to create from this business called your life, they can't support you and serve you and work for you fantastically. And that's all that money is. It's desperately wanting to be a fantastic employee.
Oh, I like that analogy.
So when we go, okay, what are you doing? How are you spending it? And this is where you can start plugging great holes. You can also get really clear on what are the outflows that aren't serving you. And so it's really important as part of that, getting clear of what's happening with your money, is really knowing what is wealthy for you, claiming back your own definition of success and wealth, rather than what our parents, society, religion, magazines tell us we have to do, be, and have to be wealthy, to be successful. Because I found, on average with my students, but between 15 and 30% of the outflow in both their businesses and in their personal income, personal finances, are going to stuff that's just there, direct debits or stuff just because.
It's been set up and they've forgotten about it, and it just comes out every month and it's there. That's how it is.
Wow, without doing anything, you can claim back, a whole chunk of money and direct it with a lot more value and leadership. So that is the key thing. And talk about that sort of wealth pie is also how you then slice that money up in a way that meets your needs now and in the future. Because life is now. And just like, when I explained to you, I went through a phase thinking, I've got to deprive myself now for some time in the future. That's not wealthy living. But we need to have a structure so we're also not sacrificing our future for now. Mm-hmm. And there is really sort of great frameworks. And it's a bit like, boundaries, ironically, create freedom. And by giving our money a set of boundaries, of what is for our juicy living right now, what is for our necessities, what is for our financial freedom. When we've consciously got pots in place for if an emergency comes up, so much of that anxiety and worry and waking up at night, that kind of stress is eliminated because you have those different things catered for. Mm-hmm. So that is the first key thing, knowing what your money's doing. The second one is then you absolutely have to expand that, though. You've got to plant that seed I spoke earlier about to enable assets to start earning money for you. Mm-hmm. And so that is about triggering. It's like going and planting this amazing vegetable garden. You've got to plant those first seedlings, and then the incredible laws of the universe will do its magic. But you need to plant that first seed and create those assets. And there are essentially 4 asset groups. There's investing in the stock market, which is so much simpler, easier, and safer than most women believe.
Okay, that's good to know.
And it really is. It's something you can set up. You can start from, in the UK, from £25 a month, in the US, about $50 a month. And when you get started, it's far more important the action you're taking than the actual amount of money you're investing, because it's about creating these wealthy habits. Mm-hmm. It's about telling the universe and yourself there's enough. There's enough for you to also have your financial well-being. And so many women put this off And this is this key principle called paying yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
They go, well, until my business is earning X or Y, until I've got this sorted out, until the children have X, Y, Z. And so many women end up feeding themselves the scraps of their lives in terms of their energy, their time, and their money. And so this key trigger of creating this habit of going each and every month, there is enough, so I can put that towards my financial well-being, is such an important message about our own self-worth. And it triggers amazing, amazing things that can then start working for you and these assets. So stock market, second one is investment property, not your own home, but this is property where other people pay you for the benefit of using it, whether it's residential, retail, commercial. And then there are passive income businesses, things like through your podcast, through online businesses, but they can also be vending machines, car washes, anything which uses systems, tools, processes to earn money for you without you having to be in that value exchange. You spend some energy and effort and creativity up front, and you create these things, and then they can continue to roll and earn income from you. Royalty-based businesses, licenses, franchises, all fit into that amazing group. But the key thing is about thinking about, how do I create something that can keep earning money for me without me having to be involved in that value exchange. And then the final asset group is ourselves. And this is about knowing that we need to keep investing in our own expansion, in our own growth, knowing, really mastering this incredible thing called our minds and our creativities, and how when we explore this world of going within, that it is from within that we create our outside world. And I know you've had quite a few guests on exploring this side, and it is so, so vital, because you can focus on just the technical side of investing and growing your money, or just the mindset side, but you're missing, you need the balance of the two. You've got to bring these things together. And I see so many people, manifesting or doing all the affirmation work, the internal work, but then they're not taking the actions and the steps in this material world.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You've got to take action. Otherwise, you're going to have the most enlightened mind, but you're just going to be sitting there.
Yeah, in this impoverished space. And so those are the other areas about expansion, creating that expansion. Then the third tip is must get clear of consumer debt. And just the first key belief is to shift that you do not need consumer debt in order to live a great life.
Yes.
And unfortunately, consumer debt's become so easy, so accessible, but more than that, it's become pervasive. It's as though if you're not using it, there's something wrong with you.
Yes, it's so normal. Everyone does it. Everyone's got crazy amounts of money racked up on their credit cards.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we realize that debt has enormous power, it's using this key wealth lever called leverage. Unfortunately, 99.9% of the population is having that lever working against them, leveraging them into poverty. And can go and, when we really master this thing called money, can understand how to use that lever of leverage for us. And this is where you can significantly accelerate your financial freedom and accelerate the rates of returns that you get from your assets. But if you don't fully understand how it works and get clear of consumer debt, and if you try and use leverage, you're using two forces against you. So it's about clearing yourself consumer debt, believing that it is absolutely possible to live consumer debt free, and it's unbelievably liberating, and it is much easier to get free of it when you've got these other things in place and when you've got a structured plan. The problem is most people try and clear themselves of debt from a little bit here, a little bit there. It's really piecemeal. They swing from, I don't want to look at it and avoid it or feel all fearful about it, to then, I'm going to attack it, but it's not in just a structured way, a plan they can put in place, put in automation, and then focus on creating wealth. Because if you just focus on debt, that's all you're going to get. Energy flows where focus goes.
Yes.
And so just really understanding it understanding its impact on your life, knowing that you can live debt-free, and every financial freedom person got there by getting free of consumer debt. And when you also realize that deciding to blitz your debt and free yourself from it is a wealth strategy. Because quite often I'll get comments or people contact me and say, oh, but Anne, paying off my debt feels like just such a negative thing. It feels like I'm not going forward. But when you realize that every little bit of consumer debt you pay off increases your net worth.
Of course, you're digging yourself out of the hole.
Absolutely, but it increases your net worth. And your net worth is the most and the only important indicator on your journey to financial freedom. That is the thing that's showing you your indicator shows you how good you are at creating wealth and what's going on in your wealth kitchen. And so not only it doesn't increase your net worth, but it frees up more money for you, and it gets this whole wheel rolling, because now not only are you having to pay back that debt, but you're not paying the interest, which is this candida of the world. Can really be very uncomfortable. Yeast where you don't want it. And so that is just so key. And then the next one, which is often what people don't relate or think about in terms of their wealth and money, are their various forms of protection. These are things like insurances and wealth documents, which are really key, like your will, your powers of attorney, your living wills. And this goes into the realm of catering for the things that we don't want to happen in our life, but could. And if you've got children or anyone that depends on you, it's about knowing that those you love, and your assets are safe. And so when you have these things in place, this also adds to that whole aspect. You can now spread your wings wider. You can fly higher because you know you're okay. So many people I see, entrepreneurs, women around the world, walking on the edge of a cliff. And when you're constantly anxious about what could go wrong, even if you're not thinking about it consciously, unconsciously, those things eat away at our energy. But one of the key things is you've got to know what you need, but more importantly, what you don't. I see thousands and thousands and thousands of people wasting an inordinate amount of money on insurances that do not serve them, that are fantastic for the broker that sold them to them. One of these is life insurance. A lot of people don't understand the difference between term life and whole life. They've either got way too much and spending a lot of money because they've been sold these products based on fear, or they're significantly exposed. But that we could talk about for hours, and it might. For a lot of people might not think of this as a part, but for entrepreneurs and going, things like income protection, especially when you're starting off, when you're not then having to worry that, oh my God, if I don't get that next sale or that contract or the intake in my next program, what will happen to me? You can just breathe easier. And then your energy is really focused on expansion. So important. And then the final recipe is what we've touched on before, is just this mastery of ourselves, of really how can we be more productive, more focused, use this incredible resource called our time in a way that is most effective for ourselves, to free ourselves up, to do more of the stuff we love, really understanding our beliefs and our value systems. Because no matter who you are or where you grew up, we all grow up with some really interesting and muddled and sometimes very disempowering beliefs around money. I certainly did, and I've done a lot of work in that area. And until I really dug down and started realizing that I had these some pretty screwed up beliefs around, if I had money, this would mean that others had to do without.
Yes.
And so feeling guilty about wanting money, but not wanting it. And so this confusion and this turmoil. I grew up in South Africa at the height of apartheid, absolutely in your face, seeing the extremes of the haves and the have-nots. And the sense of guilt about wanting money, having money, really plagued me for a long, long time. And until I really could dig down and go, what is the truth about money? That money is just an energy, that it is not a scarce pool, that you create it by adding value. And it's through that You can, and this is what's so key, is money itself has no meaning. We are the ones that give it the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can see that it is just an energy that we can use as a force for good or a force for evil, we can use it as a force for expansion or contraction. We can use it as a force for greed or a force for unbelievable generosity.
Yes.
But we've got to really dig down and go, okay, what are some of those underlying beliefs? And a lot of them for us are not at the conscious level. So it's doing that work, bringing those up, but in a fun and joyful way,
rather than digging through the crap and digging down. Definitely.
A lot of, certainly on my journey with so many of my clients, we've got to make this fun.
Yeah.
And when we can make money fun, it just is so liberating. And stop taking it all so damn seriously. Our lives are serious business.
Yes.
But they're also meant to be made absolutely fun. And, when we think of our lives as a business, that each of us, whether we're entrepreneurs, self-employed, business owner, maybe we're the stay-at-home parent looking after the kids, we each have the most extraordinary business already, this business called our lives. And our financial aspect, like in any business, is a really important component of that business. And when we start thinking about it that way, it changes the energy towards it and going, it's not if I get around to it, or maybe a nice to have. We realize that this is one of the things that we need up there with oxygen and food in order to shine brightly and just have the most wonderful time exploring this thing called life.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. So, Ann, you go into a lot more detail into many of the things that you've discussed today in your book. So could you tell us a little bit about your book, and also how can other women benefit from working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Wealth Chef, published by Hay House, was released in January 2015, and it's just been fantastic. And in the book, it's about giving people the step-by-step process on each of these core recipes, but also what are the tools that you need to support you on this? Just what are the simple tools that you put in place so that you can create these wealthy habits about making these things a bit like health. How do you create these things so that they just start flowing in your life and become a part of who you are? I would love to be able to, and part of me is still hoping that I can find somebody where I can go and do 3 crunchies and never have to do a bit of exercise again in my life. I'm fundamentally quite lazy. But I've realized that's not going to happen. With our energy, our bodies, we understand, and our food, it's this, how do we bring these things? It's about the day to day, week by week, month by month, where we feed our bodies. And your money and your wealth is exactly the same. There is no such thing as that one silver bullet, that one investment that's going to suddenly sort it all out, that one contract.
Yes.
And so we let go of that and go, okay, it's just a series of movements we do. It's just a series of actions we take. They're actions that can be done, and the more we do them, the more automated they become in our lives and simpler. And so the whole Wealth Chef book is about going, what are those different steps that you can implement? What do you need to support you on that? How to put them in place? How to get a stock market investment portfolio happening safely, easily, but also teaching you what are index trackers, why are they such great investments, and here's the thing, the difference, just a tiny bit of knowledge can make an extraordinary difference, Holly. With the difference between active and passive investing is huge, and we're just knowing the difference between those and why passive investment vehicles are so powerful can make the difference of having 70% more in your asset pot than if you didn't know that. And, this is, for me, the tragedy is it's stuff that we should be taught. But for me, I think the financial industry for a lot of years has been quite disingenuous and served themselves in needing to keep people ignorant, keep people fearful, going, don't bother your little pretty head. This is very, very complicated and scary, and you might get this wrong. So trust wonderful me. Give me your money, and, I'll give you a little bit of that back. But and I'll keep the rest, because this is effectively what is happening with a lot of financial planners, a lot of the actively managed portfolios that most people end up putting their retirement funding into, whether it's through pensions or their own personal pension, like in a SIP. And it's like I say to you, okay, Holly, great, let's go into business together. You are going to put up all the money. You're going to do the work. You're going to take all the risk. And at the end of it all, when we're ready to cash in and stop working, I'll take 70% and you get to keep 30%.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not a good deal.
But I go, let me think about it. Not. You've got rocks in your head. But this is what most people are doing each and every day when they're handing over their financial well-being to somebody else, because they've told themselves that this is scary. They've told themselves they don't know about, what to do, or they might get it wrong. And so from this tiny little bit of, from this ignorance really, and this financial illiteracy, and not being prepared to just step into this other world and realizing it's not that difficult, this is the difference it can make in their lives. And that's what, the Wealth Chef book and my teachings really aim to help people, take them by their hand and show them this other world.
Excellent. And you've also got a new program coming up, the Financial Freedom University? Yeah,
I love Financial Freedom University. It opens once a year, and it's opening in July for registration, because we run it like a university. So it's a comprehensive online program where go in depth into each of these areas, over 10 modules, from how to invest in investment property, passive income businesses, online marketing, create that money management system and get it in place easily and simply in your life. So it's comprehensive videos and audios and training and live coaching with me for over a year. And it's accessible for life because, as I said, this is about creating the support and the foundation for life. It's not this one-hit wonder thing. And so we're opening in July, and with it there's also an amazing 3-day live event that I do in the UK and in South Africa every year, which is extraordinary, when we really go deep and when just amazing people get to meet each other and start creating a tribe of people who are on the same page as them and understand it. Because for so many people, it can be a very lonely journey if their family and friends don't get it or go, why are you doing this? Who are you to think you can create this or do this stuff? But to find others that actually believe in this too and can support you and be on that journey. And that's where we also go deep into the beliefs and all sorts of stuff. So that is opening soon. So keep watch out for that. And otherwise I speak around the world and just share a lot of valuable content, so people can connect with me at thewealthchef.com or on Facebook at The Wealth Chef. And just, this is really about, I think, all of us choosing to master this thing called money so we can be inspirations to others. And I truly believe that the more of us who can shift the negative, scarce energy around money, we can help break these cycles of poverty that are keeping people at all income levels trapped in poverty. And I truly believe we can change the world.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. That was just absolutely fabulous. And I really hope that people go out, get your book, because your book is fantastic, check you out online, and then join your program in July. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Holly.
And thank you for listening. And remember to visit readytobloom.com/101 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ready to Bloom podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's guests, including links for topics that were discussed at readytobloom.com. That's bloom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave us a quick review of this podcast. Thank you so much.